Hi everyone! Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lauren's Scraplot. My name is Lauren Urbonis and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Now this is the third and final week of the Julie and Friends stamping competition where Rhonda Wade and myself are her guests. We have had so much fun sharing with you some projects from the last 2 weeks, and I do encourage you, if this is a brand new video that you've stumbled across, please head backwards and watch the tutorials that the three of us have put out, and also head to their pages after you're done this video, because you'll have a chance to watch all 3 videos and then vote for your favorite project. I would love to give a huge shout out to Julie Salva on her win for last week's project. It was absolutely amazing. And Rhonda and I are ready to play for this last and final week because we are going to introduce you to some new online exclusive products that are available March 4th, 2025. Now, if you are in the US, then please do support either Julie or Rhonda. Check out their websites and sign up for their newsletters. If you're in Canada, I'd love to be your demonstrator. My website is listed at the bottom, but you're also welcome to email me and I can get you on my email list as well as my catalog mailing list for upcoming events. I have lots of good things in person and I do mail out kits across Canada. So please check out my Facebook page, Lauren's Scraplot, for all of that information, or message me directly and I'd love to connect with you. Now, before I get into today's project, I want to let you know that there are a bunch of new products coming out on the online section starting March 4th. I unfortunately can't show you the flyer at this moment because we can't show you pre-printed material till those goes live, but we are allowed to show you everything that we have ordered from the online selection. So if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll show you a few of the items that I did grab. Keep in mind there's even more than I purchased because I'm trying to be good. You know, we all know how that goes. And order first what I'm going to play with this month and then order more later. So today I have a card featuring a Peekaboo Forest bundle for you. This adorable bundle has some really nice woodland creatures, and it also comes with dies that complement the set. So most of my dies are, you'll see them in action. There are dies coordinating with each of the little critters. There's a nice branch for your tree. This will cut another like hollow in your log. And then we have some leaf silhouettes and features. And then there are dies for this great grass and leaf scene. I'm going to show you how to use it for both, and the tree, but we need to play with those together. This is going to be a very intensive project in the fact that I have used every single stamp set from this this bundle on the project today. Of course, you can pick and choose whatever you would like. If you're like, it's a little too much for me, but believe me, if you sit down and make this project, whoever receives it is going to be tickled absolutely pink. So let me move this out of the way. I'm going to walk you through how I made it. I realized that unless you are a demonstrator, you probably won't have your hands on this, because one of the perks of being a demonstrator is you get to order a month early. So speaking of that, if you're interested in Stampin' Up! Starter Kit and you're in Canada, let me know. We have a great sale on until February 28th, and I can give you all that information so that you could order this a few days before everyone else. But you'll be able to order it right away on March 4th, and you can follow along with this video anytime. It doesn't retire. So you can come back and access it. If you would consider just subscribing to the channel, then it's kind of pinned and you're able to remember it's here. So this is a really, really fun card in the fact that it looks cute, just when you peek at it, but when you open it up, it has a few hidden surprises. So I did want to sneak in some extra critters. The bear was my last stamp in the set, and I figured I needed to include him too, but I'm going to show you how you can make this with me. So to start, I don't know, I'm gonna do this, I think, so it doesn't pop out at you. To start, you're going to want to cut yourself a card base. I use Pool Party, and this is 4 1/4 by 11. We're putting 2 score marks at 2 inches and 7 inches, and that will help us fold the card to exactly where we want it to be. So I'm going to move this out of my way. I've got my scores at the top and the bottom, and I'm going to just grab my bone folder and give a nice little burnish. So you do note that this bottom panel doesn't come all the way up to the top. It's intentional because I didn't want you to have to purchase different size papers or piece them together. It'll be slightly smaller than a regular A2 card, but it is the same width. So you can just put this in the same A2 envelope that you use for all of your other projects. Okay. Now for the inside of our card, we always like something to write on, and that's going to be the easiest thing for you to cut right now. So we've got 4 by 4 3/4. And if you decide you would like that little bear on the inside, you're going to stamp him now, because of course, if there's a mistake, it's easiest to fix at this moment. So I'm just going to let you know, and I'm going to move through the coloring pretty quickly, but I'm stamping him in early espresso. And then we're going to do a little blends coloring with our light and dark crumb cake markers. So the light crumb cake marker is going to be pretty much, you know, just his nose. And then the dark we're going to use for the rest of the little bear. What I love about blends is I am not very good at coloring, and I've always joked that I've basically gotten into stamping because I can't draw a stick man to save my life. So the blends are very forgiving, even if I leave, you know, those weird marks that you're not supposed to, they will kind of take over. So I just do like rough coloring to fill in the space. And then you can come in afterwards and just go over the whole thing with the thick head of the marker. If you're not sure how to tell, the thin side there has this little tiny line, and the fat side has a thicker line over there. So it's easy for you to decide which end you need to use. Okay, so here's my bear. He's getting really roughly colored. That one I was a little bit more careful. All right. He looks like I could probably just come in here with a thick tip now. That one is a time saver. And once you get it all blended up, he looks like he's just got some nice fur lines on him. So keep in mind with blends, you don't want to go right up to the black line because the color kind of moves even after you've laid it down. And so even if I'm not 100% sure I love my coloring job the first time I do it, I always just leave it and come back later to fix any mistakes, because it takes, I would say, at least like 30 seconds to a minute for that color to finish settling out. It spreads out and it ends up kind of going right to the edges of your image. This guy's going on the inside of our project. Got something fun to write on. And now we get to start decorating. So my suggestion is we're going to start with our leaves up here in the top. So let me tell you what you need to cut for those two. We are using lemon lime twist for our pieces. We're going to have one piece that's larger than the other because you want it kind of hanging over the edge of this section, and then one that's meant to just rest over top, giving you that canopy look. So I have one piece that is 2 by 4 1/4, and the second piece that's 2 1/2 by 4 1/4. When you grab the beautiful tree line, this one here, you're going to stamp in Old Olive, and you'll basically get something that looks like this. So let me show you quickly how to do that just on one of these pieces, but I did pre-cut some sections so you weren't here all day. Okay, Old Olive, just tap, tap, tap. I'm going to stamp that right at the bottom of my section. And then if you just take your, oh, I did it on this one. Here we go. That's okay. Take your little die. I put some tape on this. This is Post-it note tape, just from Amazon. You're going to rest it just underneath those lines. And then when you roll it through your cut and emboss machine, this is what you'll come out with for the larger piece, and this is what you'll come out with for the smaller piece. So there's your 2 canopy pieces. They're good to go. But you also want some leaf features, these guys here. So there's a great leaf stamp. You're just going to stamp straight onto the lemon lime twist paper and then color with the light and dark lemon lime twist blends. So I prefer to do my light color first. Some people are the opposite and they like to do the dark, but I'm just going to come with the light color inside the leaf. And then wherever Stamping Up has put their lines, I'm going to come in with the dark color. And once again, doesn't matter if you're a little messy, it will bleed out, it will look fantastic, and that's what we want. You're going to grab the coordinating die and cut yourself out 7 these tiny little leaves. You can do more, you can do less, but I thought 7 filled the project really nicely. Okay, so there we are. I'm gonna move that one out of the way. I did a lot in advance. Okay, larger of the 2 leaf canopies is going on first. You'll notice that it is longer than the paper underneath, and that is exactly what you want. So you're going to put this piece on with double-sided tape, seal, or glue, something flat. And you can put it straight onto this pool party top section because all of that is getting covered up. If you're getting a little frustrated by your card popping open, a little trick for you is just flip everything over. You can do all the work while it's flat on the table, then we'll close it in a minute. Okay, so there's first section. Second section, before you put the adhesive on, just double check that you've kind of left enough space. You've got a little bit of a gap between the 2. When you're happy, you're going to put dimensionals now on the back of this one. We want that canopy to look like it's separated from the piece below it. Dimensionals there. And then you get to have fun placing all your leaves. So it's up to you where you put those. I thought the 2 that I'm tucking underneath the leaf canopy, I would add with glue. So I'm just going to grab 1 leaf, put a dot of glue on the back. If you're uncertain about how you're going to stick this in, you can grab a pair of tweezers. But, whoops, apart from throwing things, there we go. Should be okay to just tuck this underneath where you want it. Then I just use my take your pick tool to press it down. Second one. There's no perfect positioning for these, so please don't feel like you have to copy this exactly. I just tucked him kind of under here. There we go. Now for the other 5, I did like the idea of them popped up because again, I felt like it gave a little bit of dimension to the project. If you look on your mini dimensional sheets, these edge pieces are perfect if you just cut them into little sections. They're skinny enough to fit on the leaf and long enough to support it. Okay. Those can go basically anywhere you choose along your project. Sometimes when I get a new bundle, like to challenge myself to use most or all of the pieces at least once, and I think pretty much did it on this card. I didn't use the bear cutout, but I used his stamp, so it's good enough for me. There we go. All right, do that. So there's your leaf canopy. Looks great. We're ready to move on. You can just double check that, okay, yes, it's folding down nicely. If you went over the top a little bit, it's no problem because it's still going to fit in your envelope. Next step, this is going to take a little bit of work, but it is absolutely worth it. So we're going to just set that there for a minute. And we're going to remind you what this section looks like. And we're going to get to work. So in this section here, we're going to do a very similar feature with our bottom. So we're using Granny Apple Green for that grass strip, and we're cutting it 1 inch by 4 1/4. I'm stamping with the same Old Olive ink pad. And then in the same way that I cut the other ones, I will cut this one, but instead of canopy for a tree, we'll flip it around and it becomes grass for the bottom of your project. So that can move over. This grass just gets attached with something flat, like some tape or some seal. Glue is great as well. And then I'm going to show you how to do the tree before I bring out all of the other little pieces. Okay. So there's my little grass line. I'm going to move my base out of the way because I need some table space here. And I want to talk about the tree. So when you look at the tree stamp, it's great. It's a little stubby, but there's a difference in height. I need to actually make this taller than it is. And Stampin' Up! Had the brilliant idea of giving you a tree base, like with the roots and everything, and then a filler stamp where you can build your tree as tall as you want it. And actually on the website, whenever Stampin' Up! Shows little ideas of projects, they made a slimline card where they took this tree and they basically put it up 3 critters high. So you'll have to check that out when it's visible. For my tree, I have pecan pie paper with early espresso ink. We're going to stamp on here. This is just a scrap of paper. It is technically 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, but you can use whatever size you have that's basically large enough for your base and for us to stamp a section above here. Now here's where it gets fun. You have one section that's pretty flat, one-dimensional, and then one with a bunch of different features. They will both line up to your set in a different way. You're just going to look for the 2 side pieces to line up, and that will change how your tree looks. So it's completely up to you how you build the tree, but you're just going to make sure those 2 side sections get attached to one another. And I'm going to actually do this twice. So I've done this with the kind of odd looking side down first. I could easily flip this around and get a different look, or I can keep building in the same manner. Because I'm barely going to see any of this, I'm just going to build in the same manner. Build my tree up. And then what you can do is remember that singular hollow die that I showed you. If your card was taller, you could cut another hole in here for another critter. So ours is short though, making a short card. Okay, now here's the fun part. We are going to take this to our machine, and here's my tape again. If you're looking for it, it's just Post-it tape. You're going to tape your die in place so it doesn't move on you and you don't cry. Just in a couple secure spots. and I'm going to run this through my cut and emboss machine. Now, because my camera hates it when I change heights and stuff, I'm just gonna do that on my floor. I hope that's okay. If you have questions about how to use a cut and emboss machine, message me and I'm happy to send you a tutorial. Done. This middle section will pop out. You can use it for this background, but what I loved about the sample that I saw online was Stampin' Up! Actually used basic gray as the shadow in behind the tree, so I did that too. I took this die, I ran it through once more on a piece of basic gray, and I kept the cutout piece for in here. You'll see where it comes in. You're going to take this die off, but you will immediately notice your die isn't coming, your image isn't coming out. It's attached still. So you have to do a little bit of cutting, but that is okay because it's a straight line and we can do it. Let's just be confident. You're just going to cut down that tree line till you connect. Same on the other side. I'm a little less confident going that way, so I'm going to come up on this side. Right here. Don't worry about trimming off the top because we're going to make sure this is perfectly fitted to our card by adding our dimensions and then trimming it right off the card base. So turn this over and put some dimensionals on the back there. If you still have some of those side pieces, these will fit right beside your circle. Just don't put anything on the bottom of the circle because that's where this little hedgehog is going to stick his head out of. So just around most of the project. Grab some of these guys. There we go. I think that might be a little high. Probably going to cut that section off. Oh well. All right, I'm ready to attach this now. So I have my great little scene here. I'm going to put down my tree and I'm going to then see all of the parts of my brown that are too tall. So I will turn this over. If you're really unsure about cutting this with scissors, you can grab your trimmer. But I think if you just grabbed some scissors and use the cardstock as a border, you'll be just fine. Cut that flush. Okay, here's our little tree that we're going to work on. Now you have to cut out a bunch of different things. I will walk you through what I cut out and then you can do them yourselves. So there is a little branch that you can stamp with early espresso and cut out with pecan pie with the coordinating die. You're going to cut yourself out a little woodpecker, which we will color. I stamped it in Memento black and we're going to color it with basic black and real red for blends. Then we have a little hedgehog that when you stamp him, he looks like this. But when you put his die cut on and cut out, he looks like this. He's got his little arms kind of tucked out and a tab that you can tuck into your tree line. So he is perfect. I stamped him with early espresso on the crumb cake paper. Then we need a raccoon who, in the very same way we did the little hedgehog, we stamped in either basic gray or pebbled path on top of a smoky slate paper. We cut him out and he pops out just like that. I mentioned already my little hollow center from the tree. I ran this die through with basic gray, so I have that empty space that will go in the back here. And then last but not least, I did cut a little piece of Calypso coral for a sentiment, and I'm going to explain in a second where I got that though. So your sentiment piece is going to be 1/2 inch by 2 1/4. Don't do anything with that one yet. let's color and assemble these pieces. So, little woodpecker, we've got our black. I have mentioned before, I'm not great with the coloring, so if you are, you could grab light and dark black and add beautiful amounts of dimension to this guy, but I'm just gonna color him today. So I've got the dark basic black, I've got the dark real red, for his head. Oh, his beak needs to be black too. And then if you want to add any sort of little accent to his belly, just grab a light smoky slate or even pool party, and you can just give him a little definition by adding a line to his belly there. It's subtle, but it's good. For your little raccoon, he is already looking pretty snazzy, but we're going to bring in that light smoky slate and just add a little feature in his nose and his ears. There we go. And of course, the signature of any raccoon is those eyes. So go ahead and color that. I'm going to color his claws too. I know they're not typically matching, but I thought it was fun. For your little hedgehog, totally up to you which of the crumb cakes you use. I'm going to use, I think I used the light crumb cake. Let me just test this. Yes, I used the light crumb cake, and I'm just giving him a little hairdo. So go around his head here, so we don't get anything in that face, and color that in. You could definitely come back with the dark and add some more definition, but we're making this simpler. There, he's ready to go. Ready to assemble now. You can do this in whatever order you want, but I'm going to start with my little critter here. I'm going to first confirm that he fits in the hole. I haven't accidentally put a dimensional in the back there, and that's great. So I'm going to put one dimensional just on the back of that little tab right here. That will help him stick up out of the hole, and it will also help prop that tree up where we didn't put a dimensional. So, oh, whoops, haha, before you do that, you need your black hole. So here we go. Goes in that way. Put a little bit of glue because it's a little tricky to get in there. Pop it in the hole, and then you can grab your finger or take your pick tool and move it right where you need it to be. Okay, let that dry for a second. Sorry. We'll move onto our branch while we're waiting. The branch is just going to get popped up with a couple dimensionals. It lines up pretty well to the side of the tree, and you can decide kind of how much or little you want showing, but I thought a really easy way to decide that was just to fold my card up and see where the branch first touched the little canopy. And that was just a nice way for me to lay it in place in a very comfortable position so it wasn't floating out into the middle of nowhere. Okay, there we go. Back to this section. So it should be dry now. We can tuck him in. He's happy. Now my little woodpecker, I kind of wanted to be a surprise. I know you see his tail sticking out the end, but for the most part, it is a surprise that you can find just up near the top of your tree. One dimensional, and then he can just rest against the section there. This little raccoon, you're going to put either a glue dot or some glue just on the bottom of this tab, and he's going to stick right in the top of your tree like that. He's just going to be poking out, and because of the measurements of our card, he just fits when you close this up. So he's another adorable little surprise. glue, and his paws go right over the top of the tree. There we go. Okay, while all of that is setting, I'm going to bring us back to this sentiment here, that 1.5 by 2.25 inch that I mentioned. And you'll notice in our Peekaboo Forest bundle, there is absolutely no sentiments. So you're probably wondering, well, what did you do? So I went to our collection of new sets, and as promised, I'm going to show you the things that I ordered. I'm taking a little segue. So here's where I got the sentiment we're using today, You're the Best. But I love these Build It sets that have all sorts of people's names and greetings and salutations that you can kind of piece together. So this one is called She's the Greatest. And then there's also a complimenting He's the Greatest. So you'll notice it's a little smaller, but you can use a lot of the, like, You're the Best Son, You're the Best Uncle, For the Coolest Guy. You can combine all of these together. So they're meant to be like complimenting stamp sets. So He's the Greatest and She's the Greatest. 2 new things coming out March 4th. Here's another one. It's called Pattern of Friendship. And I thought that one was absolutely beautiful. Nice sentiments in there. These are in no particular order. This is called Fancy Borders. I just like the scent with love. That's pretty much why I got it. And To and From. I always need those. And this one's fancier than all the Christmas ones I usually get. I did order a set of dies that I haven't even opened yet, so you guys can see those. They're called Textured Notes dies. And they are beautiful. They're like rectangles, but with all different patterns on them. And then before I let you go, there is one package of paper that I've kind of already dipped into because I was designing for my monthly card class. Those classes are free to anyone who places an order on my online store of $40 or more. But I was already designing cards with this. So pretty. Great. Okay, segue over. I embossed that sentiment just with white embossing powder, and I'm going to cut this into a little arrow. So let me show you. I didn't use a die for this. You just take your scissors and at the very center of your rectangle, cut a little notch, and then you're going to cut 2 triangles in towards that line. So we've cut one, and then we're going to cut the opposite side from the corner into the other one. Easy peasy. You can also use the stylish shapes dies if you want a nice stitched border and, you know, something that you don't have to cut, but this is great. I'm trying only to use this bundle at the moment. You're the Best. We're going to pop that up on dimensionals. Don't need a dimensional really under the word best because it's going to rest on the tree. But if you just put 1 or 2 near the front and the middle, that will be more than enough. Right there. I'm tucking that just under my hedgehog because I thought it worked really well. Kind of close to those spikes. And there is your project. So I know this is a lot of die cutting and some coloring, but it's adorable and anybody who gets it would feel so tickled, I think. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I do hope you've enjoyed this little series. Please continue following, especially Julie, because she is doing this now every month. She'll have 2 guests, and Rhonda and I were privileged to be her February competition, but she's going to have some more ladies join her, and Rhonda and I are hoping to tune back into the competition maybe at a later date. But we really thank you for all of your fun comments and engagement. Thank you for following if you're new to the page, and if you're interested in more crafting with me, I post a new video every Tuesday at noon called Show Me How It's Done. And yeah, I will craft with you guys any week that you are interested. Talk to you later. Bye.